Back again. Sorry, looking for car keys. Yeah. So yes, as I was saying, very quiet weekend. Very quiet weekend planned, and that works for me because I can just spend as much time as I can down here. So I'm hoping to get this little guy finished today, and then I'm going to get, and you know, it just seems like they're never ending, but I'm going to finish Home is Where the Heart Is. I'm going to get up on the table, so the last panels together. I only have one more to, so I've got 6 panels are sewn together, and then I have in the last row, which is a row of 3, 2 of them are sewn together. So it's just the final panel to be sewn onto that, and then the bottom row to be sewn on, and then that top is finished. And I can have a think about what backing I would like, and move that whole project to upstairs for the lap time. See if I can do that at night time and get it finished. It's a bit hard though. That's one of those things you kind of have to quilt it over a table because it's make sure you don't get any big puckers, or because it's got so much stuff on it. Alright, now I've gone all the way around the edge of my little red work birds. I haven't stitched anything in the middle yet, and I will, because otherwise it's all a bit funny. But that looks really cute. I'm really happy with that. So I still have thread. I'm just missed a little gap here. I'm just going to go up a bit further and do a stitch. So I'm going to continue up with some stitching onto this guy. I'm going to go through the gaps and come here. So let me just have a look. I'm pretty much just going to do some straight stitching around the outside of him. Not too big, he's quite a fine fabric. And then my inner voice is telling me to use some brown threads. There we go. So this should be quite quick, really. Slow stitching is quick. So I haven't counted how many more of these I have, because I think I worked out, is it 20, how many do you need? 21? What did I say? 21 hexagons to make a pouch. To make a pouch that shape anyway. Probably adjust that. I'm happy with that for now. So I'm going to move over to here. I'm just going to tie that off by doing some little back stitches under there. Again, world's biggest scissors. I'm going to leave these bits for now because I think I'm going to just do big brown whip stitches around the edge, or big cream whip stitches around the edge. I wonder if that's thick enough. I quite like, I've been really liking, where's my brown, where's my creams? I'm really liking, where's the colour? I'm really liking this colour, which is really odd because when you first look at this, I wouldn't have thought I do, but when it's on, I'm really liking that one. But I might just use that beautiful golden brown, or else the dark one. I'll have a think about that. But first, I'm going to stitch some more of this trim on and make sure it's not all floppy. So I'm going to go back under here. Check I haven't just stitched through the two sides yet. Back under here and along here. And again, just stitching everything in place, and then I will decide what else is going on and if I need and I'm sure I'll go back and do some more stitching. So Sorry, my fingers look dirty, but it's just from tea dyeing. Just trying to get in before the rain, so everything was dry. I've got a couple of blankets to wash, but they're going to have to wait now. There's nothing worse than a blanket that has to dry over a couple of days. It gets that wet doggy smell. I'm going to go into the corner. Just going to do that and take the top load. Okay, up through there. And I'm going to just go around the edge of this little doily, and then that will tack that in place. And I won't have it flopping around on me. Again, just making sure I don't go through both sides. How gorgeous is red work? There's just something about it, isn't there? Today I traced some beautiful old vintage, and they're free, copyright free ones that I've downloaded, patterns onto some old vintage linen that I'm going to do in red work. I've done a little bit more embroidery this year, so I'm really bad at it because again I've not learnt anything, I've just had a crack, and I'm sure there's some pretty important techniques that I've missed along the way, but luckily I quite like it. Let's call it naive. I remember Mum had spent a lot of time making a sampler, a copy of a really old beautiful child sampler, and it, you know, had been done by a 7-year-old child in 1822 or something, and she'd spent all this time, and then one of her friends said, who didn't understand what it was, said, oh, you know, don't worry, Rhonda, you'll get better at it. So, oh, no, it's supposed to look like that. Once everything's tacked on like this as well, it's stitched on, not tacked, like they're permanent stitches, it means I can also get rid of annoying pins. So I'm really happy with these little hexagons. Initially when I was looking at the fabrics, I was thinking, oh, you know, it just goes to show you a bit of tea dyeing, a bit of slow stitching, a bit of make, do and mend. A creative spirit. Oh, sometimes it does not want to go through. So I think Jeff is in the process of moving our cars undercover because there's hail coming. So I picked my roses today because if there is hail, they will be decimated. It's very early in the season for us to be having hail. So I think I'm going to, with this guy, I'm just going to do a whip stitch with this cotton. Let's just see if that actually works for starters, because it's quite a open weave. See how sometimes it just disappears into it? I think that'll be alright. Just have to make sure they go in far enough that they're not going to be lost in the fraying. You do a lot more stitching when you do the whip stitch rather than a straight stitch, but it looks great. Pins. Just pin that back on. Okay. What do you think? It's coming along. So I've just added some very, very simple elements, some offcuts of tea towels, some little offcuts of fabric. I was just after specific colours to kind of balance everything a little bit, because it was genuinely put together randomly, like literally I didn't look, I just chose the next hexagon, which can be really effective. But a lot of the fabrics are fabrics that I didn't particularly like, so I needed to make it so I could like it again. Through there. There we go. I'm going to have a sore thumb after this, I can tell you. Alright, here we go. So I'm just going to include this little doily in the stitches, and then, you know, that'll be well and truly stitched down by the time I get all the way around my little roses. So this was all part of that $6 pack from Vinnie's yesterday, so it's actually been really good. I tea-dyed the whole pack basically. There was probably one or two things. There was two little serviette things that were just, one was black and one was like a kind of blue aqua colour. But other than that, everything else was something that I could use. So, you know, that was a good score. Go Vinnie's, doing the slow stitch packs. And again, my fingers are very stained from tea. Bit of tannin. Just going to stitch that here and stitching off. Right, in the throat. Like I've been a smoker all my life with tannin nicotine fingers, but it's just tea. I'm just going to cut my tail off so I don't have so much to hide. Back under here. Start about there, I think. Yeah, it just disappears then, that's awesome. I quite like whip stitch, but I get a bit bored doing it because it takes a while, you know. When I'm doing a video rather than listening to a story, I do find it a bit of a challenge. But we're nearly there. Well, we're not. We're about a third of the way, I think. So this little doily and this rose were out of the pack from Vinnie's. As I said, I think I tea-dyed the whole lot, apart from one black tea towel, which I'm actually just going to use as a tea towel in my kitchen. I'm just trying to make sure that my needle goes far enough in that it does stop, you know, I mean, I like the fraying, but I don't want it to fall off. So there's a fine line. There's a fine line between fraying and actually coming off the piece. So I'm just making sure I go deep enough to catch some fabric that's still woven well. And then that should also reinforce it and help keep it in place so it doesn't fall apart. So that's the plan anyway. How's that looking? So that's just a thread. Pull that off. That's good. I like how when you stitch on top of these types of doilies, you get that real bumpy look. I really like that. Kind of looks quilted, doesn't it? Alright, I think I might pretty much do around here. And I might leave you be and do all the rest of the boring stitching and come back once everything that I have pinned on is stitched. So you can hang with me while we decide what to do next. So I hope wherever you are, you're out of the storms. I hope you are having, or I hope you're tucked up tight. My mum has medicated her dog, as she has to. Her dog absolutely loses his mind in a storm. We have two dogs. We have a golden retriever and a little crossbreed, and they both couldn't care less, thankfully. So thankfully we don't have to worry about that. It's funny how some dogs are terrified of storms. My golden retriever will literally go and stand in the middle of it. You just got to make sure she's not wandering out into the yard during all the lightning. So I won't leave that there. Oh, sorry, just whacked you. This is how we're looking. So that's going there with no pin. Hang on. Pin you there. So this is going to be my front. And again, I need something there. I don't know what it is yet. But I'm happy with the balance of colours. That looks really good. And my back is going to be significantly green and red, clearly. There we go. I'm just going to put a pin down here because for some reason I didn't. Maybe it fell out. Awesome. So that's my back so far. And I'm sure I'll put something over here, but not too much. I'm actually not going to go too crazy. And I'm loving it so far. So thanks so much for popping in. I hope you've got something exciting that you're working on, and I'll see you soon.